Just when I want to start filming, the refrigerator cuts on. But that's why the power of editing. That's why I put music in the underscored background. It helps. Sawadee ka. Hello everyone. I take it all back. I'm pretty sure this is going to be the shortest video in this mini Thailand series. If you haven't noticed, I like to talk a lot. Hence the name, Rose Rambles, rambling, chatty, yep. So anytime I can get a video to be under 10 minutes, I'm just generally pretty proud of myself. I'm finally wearing my glasses in a video. Do you like them? They're new. I like them too. But that's not the point of this video. So quick recap. In part 1, I just talked about stories and tips. In part 2, I made everybody hungry with a lot of food porn shots. And in part 3, I talked about shopping, specifically in Bangkok. If you're currently having a Dory moment and you've forgotten in the past like 30 seconds what the title of this video is, today I am going to be talking about public transportation in Bangkok. Again, since that is the city and place that I know the best, and I'm sure you can apply some of these things that you learned today in other parts of Thailand, but, well, Bangkok is what I know the best. Let's start broadly with traffic in Bangkok. I'm just really surprised that there aren't more accidents. Bangkok, it's a big city, but I don't think it was built to hold the sheer volume of traffic that goes in and out of it. I kind of like to view the traffic there as organized chaos. Here's a for instance. It's not uncommon to be driving along on a 4-lane highway and then wham bam thank you ma'am, suddenly there's 5 lanes. Yeah, remember that shoulder that's not even half the size of a regulated normal traffic lane? Well, that's been commandeered to become the 5th magical lane. There seems to be an understanding between drivers and the traffic police. The traffic police understand that there are just way too many cars to keep in line, so to speak, and plus I'm pretty sure there would just be way too much paperwork to take care of if they stopped every single vehicle for participating in this new magical lane, so they let it happen. Again, just an understanding. Another traffic observation, while it's not super common, but it's not unusual to sometimes see taxi motorcyclists come onto the sidewalk as a shortcut. And speaking of motorcyclists, there's just simply a lot of them. For me, it was a little bit overwhelming at first just to see the sheer amount that there are weaving in and out of traffic. I know that there are motorcyclists that weave in and out of traffic in the States, but I'm just not used to seeing that amount, the same amount that Bangkok possesses. So it took a little bit of getting used to. In short, if you want to ever drive in Bangkok, you definitely need to possess a boatload of confidence, and steel balls would not hurt your case. And I haven't decided who is the scarier driver, my father-in-law or my mother-in-law. I kind of want to lean towards my mother-in-law because I will never forget. There was one time we were in this large intersection and she wanted to make a right turn, left turn. I don't really remember because in Thailand they drive on the other side of the road, so meh. Moving that aside at the moment, she was in the wrong lane. So what she did was, when it was her turn to go, she sped up enough, crossed over like 3 or 4 lanes of traffic to get where she wanted to go. Because apparently in her mind, she's like, no, I got this. I can do this. And she did. I mean, my life flashed before my eyes, but just never again, please. Never again do I want to experience that. Like I said, balls of steel and confidence. And she has that. Now let's jump into what you're more likely interested in knowing, and that's about taxis. As far as taxis go, that includes the cars, motorcycles, and tuk-tuks. I have about 9 things, tips, and information for you to keep in mind. If a taxi driver ever refuses to take you to a particular spot, normally it's because they know that it's going to be too hard to get there with traffic, and or the destination that you want to go to won't have a lot of future customers for them to pick up. Legally, they really shouldn't decline you in this manner, but it happens. Song, if you are in a taxi car, make sure when you get in that they start the meter, because that is what they should be basing the price on. Taxi cars, they do not go on flat fees. If you're a foreigner, some taxi drivers will try to get one up on you, if that is the correct phrasing I'm looking for. But they will try their luck with foreigners and say, oh, it's a set price. No. Go by the meter. Tell them to go by the meter. And just so you know, taxi rides are generally between $3 to $6 which is, man, that's cheap. 3. If a taxi light is off, that means they already have an occupant, and if the taxi light is on, then it's free to be flagged down. The taxi sign is in Thai, but I feel like that doesn't really matter because it's a neon sign. If it's on or if it's off, you can understand that. 4. If you're wondering how much to tip a taxi driver, you don't have to, but you can if you want. Most of the time, my husband and I do tip taxi drivers, and how we figure that out is if, for instance, if our total is 86 baht, then we'll just pay them 90 baht and tell them to keep the change. Think of it as rounding up by fives just to keep it simple. And there have been a couple times where there have been exceptional drivers. For instance, there was one time a driver that we had, he was just really nice. He was super helpful. He was telling us about how traffic is like in a particular area, what to look for over there, that sort of thing. So we ended up tipping him about 20 baht, and that's a lot for a taxi driver. Oh, yep, super bright. Ah, fair. Not all taxis have seatbelts in the back, and those that do, legally you do not have to wear a seatbelt, which I find kind of completely unnerving, but that's how it is. And that's not just in taxis, that's in all vehicles. Legally, as I just stated, legally you do not have to wear a seatbelt in the back seat, and that just completely blows my mind. So that there's been a couple times when Thai friends have come over to the States to visit us, and we've had to remind them, legally you have to wear a seatbelt here, and it briefly confuses them, and just, what a world, my friends, what a world. This is just a really small side note. The condition or state of taxi cars are generally the range from it's fine to this is a little bit questionable. Just so you know. There are toll fees when you go onto highways, and normally that price is about 50 baht, and you do have to provide this to the taxi driver. Taxi motorcyclists are not allowed on highways, nor are, I think, any motorcyclists. And when it comes to taxi motorcyclists, they're only used for short distances, and I mean going 4 or 5 blocks kind of short distances. However, my husband definitely advises for foreigners to not take a taxi motorcyclist because the drivers, they're not always particularly careful. Therefore, it's not the most safe mode of transportation, and sometimes you will see the passenger with the helmet and sometimes you won't. However, if you do want to brave using a taxi motorcyclist, you do have to ask them for the price range. Oh my gosh, so much shedding. I'm a kitty. Gao. For tuk-tuks, you will have to ask the driver for the price range. And I feel like tuk-tuks, they are kind of like an in-between of a taxi motorcyclist and a car taxi. Since the motorcycles, they are short distances and taxis, you can go much longer. I feel like tuk-tuks, they're kind of in the middle. I got to ride a tuk-tuk twice, both times during my first trip to Thailand. And the first time I was with my husband and his family, and my mother-in-law, she split off from our little group. She waved down a tuk-tuk driver, asked for the pricing, and for me, I kind of stayed hidden because, as it seems normal for a lot of taxi drivers, if they see a foreigner, they might try their luck and try to bump up the price. Therefore, I stayed hidden, and once, things were settled between my mother-in-law and the driver, she waved us down, and it's like, oh, surprise, foreigner. Taxi drivers, they'll try to be a little bit sneaky when it comes to their pricing. Keep that in mind. Look at this nonsense. The crosswalk is totally ignored. It's just decoration at this point. This guy, where did he come from? How many laws did he just break? And this guy. Don't think I can't see you riding up onto the sidewalk. Sir? Sir! Moving on to trains. Choo-choo! Nah. Apparently these trains, they're a little bit too sophisticated for the choo-choo noises, but whatever. For this, I have 7 things for you to know and keep in mind. Ning. If you can, take a train whenever and wherever you can, because boy, will that shave off your travel time. Sure, you might need to take a taxi to a train station, but it will still significantly reduce the amount of time that you are just traveling in general. Push up my glasses. It's falling down. So, there is an underground train and a sky train. It's not really that complicated, you just need to know which train you need to get on. 3. Trains are very inexpensive. They can range between $1 to $3 depending on what distance that you need to travel. If you think that you are going to use the train a lot, I definitely recommend to get the train card because it's just more convenient that way and it's cheaper than paying for a new ticket every single time that you go. 3. There are checkpoints at the entrances of the train stations, but that is if you are carrying a backpack or carrying luggage, then you will need to then you will need to stop and have that checked. When you are waiting for your train, I'm pretty sure in all the train stations, painted on the ground, that it will show you the designated area that you need to stand, which is essentially once the train pulls up, you are standing off to the side, so you're out of the way for the people wanting to come off the train. It just keeps things more organized. I'm pretty sure this is everywhere in Japan, and yeah, it definitely helps keep things more flowing nicely, a little bit more regulated. Generally, it's pretty quiet on trains, so just respect those around you and keep the noise level down. Lastly, if you are worried about knowing when your stop is, on the overhead system, it will tell you in both Thai and English. This reminds me of many times when we were using the SkyTrain. There's a particular stop, a particular name that for some reason I just loved the sound of it coming from the recorded speaker. It was, in English at least, it's like, next stop, Ratchatewi. I don't know, it amused me so much. Little story for you there. Okay, moving on. Buses. I don't really have much to say on buses because I've never had to take one, and my husband, he advises that if you're a foreigner, just don't use them, skip them because it's very much a localized thing and they can be a little bit, I guess, complicated to figure out how to use. They are cheap, but just skip them altogether. Plus, a lot of the buses are not really properly maintained or updated. My husband says maybe half of the buses will have an AC while the other half don't. So to get circulation, they just roll down the window. Yeah, buses, just don't worry about them. Moving swiftly along, Uber is in Bangkok and it seems relatively new. It did not exist during our first trip in 2013, but it was there in 2016. It seemed to have started to gain traction around 2015. Uber prices are quite similar to taxi prices. I would say Uber, they are a little bit more expensive because it's a more comfortable ride. And I would say the average Uber price when my husband and I took it the few times during our second trip, oh gosh, $8? Maybe. Again, super cheap. Yeah, a little bit more expensive than the taxi, but my gosh, if you compare that to prices you will pay both in taxi and Uber in the States, you're good to go. So it really just depends on your preference whether you want to take a taxi or an Uber. Rounding things up here at the very end, a big note to keep in mind, particularly about Bangkok. It is not friendly to those who need assistance with wheelchairs or walkers. It would be very difficult to get really anywhere because of the state of sidewalks, which are not always, they're not very well maintained, and pretty much all modes of transportation. I really don't remember seeing elevators in the train stations. Buses don't seem to be equipped to handle wheelchairs, and even taxis seem to be a little bit iffy on whether or not they would take someone who needs that kind of assistance. And rarely did I ever see, for instance, even ramps going into buildings, like even business buildings. So just, If you're going to come visit Bangkok, definitely keep in mind the challenges you may face if you do need assistance of some sort. Look at all of this rain and general flooding. This happened during our first trip driving back into Bangkok. Flooding like this isn't uncommon, and just know that do not go outside splashing about in rain shoes. This water is not clean. If you can believe it, that is all I have for you today, my beautiful folks. So let me know in the comments down below, what is public transportation like for wherever you live? Is it convenient? Is it expensive? Is it cheap? For me, where my husband and I live, it's actually pretty good, so we don't need a vehicle at this time. I'm sure at some point down the line we will, but for now, woohoo to saving money. Gotta love that. Khop ka? Hair. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye! And the sun is quickly becoming brighter because, you know, that's how the world spins and works. Hair and the face. Get out of my face. Quick recap in part 1. Nope, wait, hold on. Car. Hopefully I'm in the same spot. Can I say it? I have the hardest time saying thank you, because every time I've done it, my husband is like, you're a little bit off. But I'm close, but I want to be perfect. Nobody's perfect. I'm rambling. Shame, shame. I know my own name. Gosh, I hope.